I'm Tracy Sabol. Tonight on EWTN News Nightly, down to the wire. Congressional budget negotiations are in jeopardy after input from President-elect Donald Trump. We have team coverage. Gaining ground. Russian President Vladimir Putin says that the war in Ukraine has strengthened his country. Concern in Canada. The North American country is seeking input on a measure for advance requests for euthanasia. Alex Schadenberg joins us to discuss. Plus, knock and the door will be opened. Learn about a prison where Pope Francis will open the second holy door, kicking off the Jubilee year. These stories and more tonight.
From EWTN, the Global Catholic Network, this is EWTN News Nightly.
Thank you for being with us on the feast of Blessed Pope Urban V. Our top story tonight, President-elect Donald Trump has announced success in coming up with a new bill to fund the government and to lift the debt ceiling a day before a government shutdown. Trump posted on social media that he was urging Congress to swiftly pass it as soon as tonight. White House correspondent Owen Jensen kicks off our team coverage tonight. Owen.
Tracy, good evening to you. The deal would keep the government running for 3 more months, add in disaster assistance, and allow more borrowing through January 30th, 2027, a couple of years from now. However, tonight, right now, it's not clear if all lawmakers are on board.
Less than a week till Christmas, soon-to-be President Donald Trump delivers this message, telling Fox News Digital, anybody that supports a bill that doesn't take care of the Democrat quicksand, known as the debt ceiling, should be primaried and disposed of as quickly as possible. Trump says he's determined to fight till the end to get a debt limit increase from Congress. As for the deadline quickly coming up, we spoke with Chris Markowski, who hosts the Watchdog on Wall Street podcast. He said he's not worried about a government shutdown.
You know, the funny thing about government shutdowns is all essential workers keep working. You know, I run a business, and we only have essential workers at my business. Wouldn't it be nice if we only had essential workers in the federal government? Again, that would cut our taxpayer expense most certainly down. No, a government shutdown is most certainly not the end of the world.
Trump posted, if Republicans try to pass a clean, continuing resolution without all the Democrat bells and whistles, that will be so destructive to our country. All it will do after January 20th is bring the mess of the debt limit into the Trump administration, rather than allowing it to take place in the Biden administration. Meanwhile, President Joe Biden's press secretary slams Republicans in a statement, writing, Republicans need to stop playing politics with this bipartisan agreement, or they'll be hurting hardworking Americans and create instability across the country. A deal is a deal. Republicans should keep their word. Earlier this week, President-elect Trump addressed the nation's eye-popping, staggering debt.
So all of these policies will help us rapidly defeat inflation, create millions of new jobs, and put money in the pockets of the hardworking families of our country, pay off debt. We're going to be paying off a tremendous amount of debt. We're $36 trillion. You don't want to be there.
As the drama continues to unfold on Capitol Hill, President Joe Biden will spend the night here at the White House after his 2-day trip to Delaware. He plans to visit patients at Children's National Hospital in Washington, D.C. tomorrow. At the White House, Owen Jensen, EWTN News Nightly.
Well, last-minute deal among House Republicans is forming, but getting it through Congress is still a long way away. All this taking place after tweets by Elon Musk and President-elect Donald Trump sent the current continuing resolution into a tailspin. All right, well, let's check in now with Capitol Hill correspondent Eric Rosales, who says meetings took place all day to come up with a deal. Eric.
Good evening, Tracy. Right now, the 1,500-page bipartisan CR spending bill to keep the government open through at least mid-March is dead. It was filled with billions of dollars in non-essential items. Some called them funding traps. All day long, House Republican leadership has been meeting with members trying to decide their next move, especially after President-elect Donald Trump now wants to add raising the debt ceiling as part of the deal. Frustration on both sides is being felt.
And I wish we could jump to a real spot because it's just pathetic. And again, we haven't seen, we don't even know what's happening yet.
So there's a lot of moving parts, but the ultimate goal is to get a bill that addresses our immediate needs but also sets President Trump up for success when he comes into office.
And these are the types of games that we're really tired of, having to pick and choose with, oh no, how do we take care of our farmers and our victims of hurricanes? How do we do that? But we're against voting for all the funding in this other giant package.
Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro worked on the deal and says Republicans signed off on the funding bill and should honor it.
I worked very, very hard, as the other appropriators did in terms of creating this agreement. We lost some, they lost some, but we put together a good agreement that people could support. And we were there to support it, but for President Musk.
With Johnson's CR plan scrapped, both sides are now casting doubt on his ability to lead and keep the gavel in next year's Congress.
With Elon Musk coming out against this package, I mean, that's pretty significant. So I think a lot of people just watching how he handles it.
So after all the meetings, House GOP leadership is going with Plan B. They'll extend funding until mid-March of next year, raise the debt limit until January 2027, $110 billion for disaster aid, and extend the Farm Bill, along with other provisions. Speaker Johnson plans to bring the bill to the floor for a vote as soon as possible, ahead of tomorrow's midnight deadline. At the Capitol, Eric Rosales, EWTN News Nightly.
And in other news, District Attorney Fani Willis has been removed from President-elect Donald Trump's election interference case in Georgia. This news comes after Trump's legal team spent months trying to have Willis removed, arguing that her romantic relationship with Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade created a conflict of interest. The appeals court did not dismiss Trump's indictment. However, Georgia officials must now try to find a new prosecutor, and the future of the case is in doubt. Police say the shooter in Monday's attack on a Christian school in Wisconsin brought 2 guns to the scene. The 15-year-old girl was also communicating with a man who allegedly was planning an attack of his own in California. A California judge is ordering the 20-year-old man to turn over his guns and ammunition to police within 48 hours. Back in Wisconsin, authorities say they do not know how the 15-year-old girl obtained her guns, and no decision has been made as to whether her parents will be charged. A fellow student and teacher were killed. The suspect in the killing of United Healthcare's CEO is back in New York today after agreeing to leave Pennsylvania to face his charges. Luigi Mangione faces new federal charges of murder and stalking. The federal murder charge could lead to a death sentence, though prosecutors have not said if they will pursue the death penalty. A notebook found on the suspect contained writings considered hostile to the health insurance industry. All right, now to the Middle East, where a series of Israeli airstrikes have rocked the rebel-held capital of Yemen. This comes after a Houthi missile targeted Israel. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says that there is a price for targeting Israel.
After Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Assad regime in Syria, the Houthis are almost the last remaining arm of Iran's axis of evil. They are learning, and they will learn the hard way, that whoever harms Israel pays a very heavy price for it.
The Israeli military says the strikes targeted Houthi infrastructure, especially a power station. This came after a Houthi missile launched from Yemen was intercepted before entering Israeli territory. Israel says that its planes were already in the air and the attack on Yemen was pre-planned prior to the missile interception. With wars across the Middle East, a new regime in Syria, and an ever-present threat from Iran, the fate of Christians across the region is held in the balance, with cautious optimism regarding what happens next. And joining us now is His Excellency Bashar Warda, Archbishop of Erbil, Iraq. Your Excellency, great to be with you again. There's a lot to talk about today.
Thank you, Tracy.
But first, I want to get your thoughts on the recent developments in Syria and the ousting of President Bashar al-Assad. And what effect do you think that this regime change will have on Christians and other religious minorities there?
To be honest, until now, the picture is quite vague. I mean, nobody knows what would be the situation. We pray that and hope that all the promises that's been made by the new, groups coming, it would be kept, that Syria would be for all, they would be for an inclusive, society, They are looking to write a new constitution that has all in it. That's a big hope. It's just vague. Really, we don't know what would happen, and we hope that the settlement comes soon.
10 years ago, you were the Bishop of Erbil when ISIS took Mosul and then the Nineveh Plains. Kurdish forces who are allies of the U.S. are guarding more than 9,000, that is, Islamic State terrorists in Syria, but they're facing increased attacks from Turkish-backed militia and active ISIS cells. Are you worried about ISIS rising up again?
No, I think ISIS will not really rise again, but what we call the new regime or the new way of governing, probably if it would not have like persecution, we are afraid that they would be pushing like pressure more on us as minorities. I think no one have in his mind that ISIS is coming back again, because really that was really a sad and a very, very horrible time for all of us, not just Christians, but everyone, even Muslims, Yazidis, Kurds, Arabs, you can tell. But we would love to see that Christians and minorities will not be really like collateral damage for another political dispute, or even people are talking more and more about a new Middle East, what that would mean. And one of the really things that I personally want to see is what would be what we call the position of the new American administration about Middle East, because at the end of the day, America, it's very powerful in that matter as well.
And be sure to tune in tomorrow for part 2 and hear what Archbishop Warda had to say about his hopes for the new Trump administration, as well as the 2 attempts on Pope Francis's life while he was visiting Iraq. Russian President Vladimir Putin says the war in Ukraine has strengthened his country.
Everyone is fighting literally heroically, and they are fighting at this very moment. Let's wish them all, both those who are fighting in the Kursk region and those who are fighting along the entire front line, good luck, victory, and returning home. Thank you.
During Putin's annual news conference, he said that sending troops into Ukraine improved Russia's military and economic power. He added that his military is advancing toward achieving Russia's goals and described the recent killing of one of Russia's top generals as a, quote, major mistake. And we have a lot more still to come here on EWTN News Nightly, including a pro-euthanasia proposal advancing in Canada, what it says and the potential problems it could pose. Plus, strikers take to the picket line at Amazon, why they're striking, and if it will impact your holiday plans. Welcome back. 51 men in France have been found guilty in a drugging and rape trial that has shocked the nation, shed light on abuse that lasted a decade, and turned a victim into a symbol of strength. Advocates cheered as Giselle Pellico left the courthouse following the verdicts. Her ex-husband was found guilty of drugging her, raping her, and then letting other men do the same while she was nearly unconscious. Her ex-husband was sentenced to 20 years in prison. The others face charges of 3 to 20 years. Canada's government is considering a proposal to allow advance requests for assisted suicide. It is the latest pro-euthanasia legislation to be considered in the North American country. This measure would permit citizens to pre-arrange to be euthanized if they reach a stage where they are unable to consent to the procedure. The comments period opened earlier this month and it runs until February. And for more on this, we turn now to Alex Schadenberg, Executive Director of the Euthanasia Prevention Coalition, and he is based in Canada. Alex, always great to have you on the show. So tell us a little bit more about this proposal and how it would look from a practical point of view.
So I first have to say why this is happening now is Quebec, and Quebec, if you know anything about Canada, tends to do things on their own, has already instituted this. They already asked the prosecution service in Quebec not to prosecute doctors who do euthanasia. They kill a patient based on an advance request. So that's where it started. So now the federal government is looking at the question. They had already a study they did in 2022 that the report came out in February 15th, actually, of 2023, saying that they did support this idea. They have not instituted it. So what it actually means is that, exactly as you said ahead of time, somebody is now incompetent, and they then had declared ahead of time that they would want to be killed if they were incompetent. So then you get a situation with people with dementia, or let's say someone even having a car accident, having a serious head injury, that would make it a situation where they've become incompetent, then somebody else would have to make the decision to go ahead and lethally inject them.
Alex, I know the federal government says it wants Canadians to share their thoughts and is asking for input not only from patients and healthcare providers, but also Indigenous citizens and persons with what they call lived experiences. Why in particular do they want to hear from Indigenous people, and what do they mean by lived experiences?
Well, it's very interesting what they're doing. They're trying to say that they're giving, how would you say, a wide consultation. So that's why they're saying they're looking at people who are Indigenous, people with disabilities, people from other sort of racial backgrounds, etc. But the biggest question they should be asking themselves is why so many of the questions in their consultation were actually written in such a way as to imply that you actually support euthanasia by advance request. So we put out a whole guide as to how to answer this questionnaire, because quite a few of our supporters said, Alex, I can't answer this questionnaire because I don't support euthanasia by advance request, but there's a whole series of questions that imply that you do. And so obviously speaking, we wrote up a response to that. But what's ridiculous, of course, is once again, the idea of the consultation is to look like something that it's not. Their goal is to expand the legislation further, and they want to say they've had a wide consultation, and that's really what it's all about.
Yeah, you know, something that we haven't really talked about before is this organ harvesting from those who have, are assisted suicide. I know Canada, that is apparently one of the top countries in the world when it comes to organ donations. So discuss this with us. And I know not everyone can actually donate their organs, such as people with cancer. So unpack that for us.
Well, the fact of it is that when somebody asks for an assisted death in my own province of Ontario, there is a protocol in most of the hospitals that they would also then be approached about organ donation. Now, the issue is very concerning because it tries to then, for some people, it creates some sort of a good to this idea of being killed, because then my organs can then be given to somebody else. So this is a real concerning thing. The problem with it also is how it's changed ethics, because the whole concept of organ donation, you have to be dead to give your organs. And now the question is, well, why would you have to be dead to give your organs? If you've already consented to be killed, why should we kill you first before taking your organs? Why not just take your organs? And this is the whole debate that's going on now, and it seems ridiculous, but once you legalize killing, which is what we've done in Canada by euthanasia, it's killing, it's lethal injection. Once you've done that, everything becomes open, and this is the one issue that has really become problematic. Yes.
Yeah, very problematic and disturbing too. Before we run out of time, I want to bring this up. Yesterday we reported there are a lot of calls for Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to step down, and a no confidence vote apparently could be coming rather soon. Would it change in government, Alex? Would that have any impact on this push for assisted suicide in your country?
Well, it all depends on how any election would end, but the fact of it is that I'm not hiding anything. Mr. Trudeau has been massively supportive of euthanasia, and his government has been ridiculous in how they've promoted it. So obviously we would hope for a government change. The fact of it is only the future will tell us what will happen. I don't want to get into all the politics of this. I will say that the recent report that came out of the federal government, and this is a big shocker, showed that there was 428 euthanasia deaths in Canada in 2023, which were likely outside of the law. Well, 422, I mean. And there was 620 some odd deaths in euthanasia in Canada in that report, which showed that they were very questionable at best and probably should not have happened. When you look at these numbers, we're talking about real lives, real human beings who are dead. And this is exactly what we're talking about with euthanasia and what's happened in my own country.
Well, Alex, we appreciate you always weighing in for what you do. Thanks so much. God bless.
Thank you so much.
Our Christmas online shopping could be on the line as Amazon workers at 7 facilities are on strike. This comes as the e-commerce giant ignored a Sunday deadline. The union set for contract negotiations. So far, this is the largest strike against the company, but executives are saying operations will not be impacted. Teamsters are also warning that more locations are, quote, prepared to join the fight. Up next on EWTN News Nightly, it is a special day for EWTN and all those who love Mother Angelica. We'll take you to Alabama for the anniversary of the Shrine of the Most Blessed Sacrament. Plus, in little more than a week, the Pope will mark an important step in the Jubilee year, how it will uniquely live up to the theme of hope. A mass in Huntsville, Alabama honors the 25th anniversary of the opening of the Shrine of the Most Blessed Sacrament. Mother Angelica picked the land to build the shrine after founding EWTN. Today's anniversary featured mass celebrated by Cardinal Raymond Burke, as well as a Eucharistic healing service with Father Mitch Pacwa. On December 26th, on the feast of St. Stephen, Pope Francis will celebrate mass at a prison in Rome, and it's an important step in the 2025 Jubilee year. EWTN Vatican journalist Magdalena Walensky-Reedy was able to give us an exclusive look inside the prison.
The Holy Door at Rebibbia is the only one besides St. Peter's Basilica that Pope Francis will personally open on December 26th for the official start of the Jubilee year. This bronze door, hidden behind the high walls of the Roman prison, symbolizes not just this penitentiary, but all prisons worldwide.
When
we received the news, everyone, from the head of the department to the volunteers, staff, and the inmates, was filled with a great sense of anticipation and excitement.
This extraordinary gesture was desired by the Pope himself, who expressed it in the bull of indiction of the Jubilee 2025, Spes non confundit, hope does not disappoint. It is a profound sign of hope for those who need it most.
Pope Francis
has the ability to reach everyone's heart in a very direct and authentic way. His message will be one of closeness, love, and solidarity, especially in understanding the difficulties of confined communities like prisons. And it is not by chance that this is the Jubilee of Hope.
For those confined within the prison, an environment that is often filled with immense personal and spiritual challenges, the message of hope is both timely and essential.
In celle talvolta di 6 persone.
They lie in cells that sometimes house 6 people in very cramped spaces, with ages ranging from 25 to 80, with these bunk beds staring at the ceiling, only listening to the television. They shut down inside. This holy door must really open to us so that we do not resign ourselves. Prisoners are human beings. They might have erred to a greater or lesser degree, but they cannot just be considered numbers and precluded from having a future.
A new tomorrow is brought to life for the prisoners through initiatives like the call center, where they work as telephone operators for the Vatican Pediatric Hospital of Bambin Gesù. In a special workshop called Metamorphosis, prisoners are transforming driftwood from migrant birches into pieces of art, including rosaries and the wooden nativity scene. The nativity scene will be displayed during the opening of the Holy Door.
When our prisoners found out that the Pope was coming to visit us for the opening of the Holy Door, they spontaneously started creating a gift. It will be revealed on the day the Holy Door opens.
The 1,600-member prison community, with diverse backgrounds and sentence lengths, eagerly anticipates the Pope's visit on St. Stephen's Day. For the inmates, the Holy Door's opening is more than a physical act. It represents a chance to open their hearts to a new future and is a reminder that even in darkness, Jesus brings hope. In Rome, Magdalena Walensky-Reedy, EWTN News Nightly.
And we thank you for watching tonight. Remember, you can follow us on social media, Facebook, X, and Instagram at EWTN News Nightly. I'm Tracy Sabol. Good night and God bless.